Hey friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn, and today I want to share with you recipe number 6. It's actually based on this card, which is a sheetload of cards designed by Call Me Crafty Al. And what I want to do is generalize this to paper braiding. So how can we just use strips of paper and sort of weave them together to create a pattern? And in this video, I'll show you how another way of creating something like this, which is sort of a faux ribbon look. And I'll show you a couple cards at the end of this video as well as the technique for creating this. Now, this particular pattern spans nearly the entire A2 card front, but what I'm going to share with you today is a slightly different way of doing this, which I feel is a little bit more efficient. It'll get you a nice 2-for-1. And all you're going to need is a card base, some strips of paper. I happen to like 1/2 inch, and a card panel to weave your pattern onto. So again, if you want something that's going to fill most of your card, this could be something like a 4x5 1/4, but I'm going to do a more narrow strip and just have that off to one side here. So for my card panel, I'm going to use 2-inch wide by 5.5 tall, and I'll cut that down if I need to later. But what I'm going to start off doing is I want to do a little bit of a 2-for-1 here. So I am going to cut 2 strips of 2-inch by 5.5 tall. This is going to be the background that I want to do all of the paper weaving on top of. So I want 2 of these, and what I will do is actually adhere these, but just temporarily. So I only want to temporarily stick these 2 panels together, so that when I do my paper weaving, I'm actually going to be making 2 at the same time, and I'll separate them later. So all will become clear in a moment. To start, if you have a temporary adhesive, I would recommend using that. I am just going to use a dotty tape runner, and I'm only going to be very, very sparing with it. A little bit at the top, a little bit at the bottom, maybe a smidge in the center as well. So here you can see just how sparing I am with it, because I don't want this to actually stick permanently. I just want to adhere these 2 together, because as I do my braiding, I'm actually going to make both panels at the same time, and that way I can make 2 cards. So you can see they're kind of stuck together, but mostly they are not attached. That way later we can separate them and use them. Okay, so then next we'll need some strips of pattern paper is what I plan to use, but you could definitely use some solid color cardstock if you prefer. And for the faux ribbon look, so I like to have something that's a little bit darker at the bottom, and then something that has maybe a little bit more pattern on the top or the front. So think about maybe a double-sided ribbon where maybe one side there's one color and the other side is a different color. And of course, not too shabby papers are so beautifully coordinated that oftentimes you can just flip to the back and you would have a beautiful pattern paper that would coordinate perfectly. And I think this one will fit the bill, because there's going to be enough contrast so where you have something kind of light and something that is kind of dark for the ribbon pieces that are on the back. And one thing that you might want to note is if you are using directional paper, remember this is going to be adhered a bit on an angle. So you do want to pay attention to make sure that if it is directional, that it still looks good when you have it on an angle like that. Now, I happen to know with my trimmer that the metal blade is 1/2 inch. So all I have to do is just butt my pattern paper up against that lip there, and I've got my 1/2 inch strips. Now remember, I'm going to use one side for for basically to represent the top of the ribbon or the front of the ribbon, and I'm going to flip to the other side to be the back of the ribbon. Okay, so with that in place, what I want to do is whichever pattern you want to be the reverse side, the back side, you want to adhere that first. So all I'm going to do is put some double-sided adhesive tape along these strips. And it's going to help to put them on first so that I actually know which one I want to use for the front of the ribbon, which one I want to use for the back. And I did pick patterns where on the front, it actually looks, you get the full heart. Now here comes the fun part. These little strips of paper, I'm just going to wrap them around this panel here. And back to front, I'm just going to continue to wrap it around. Now, with all of my recipe cards, I'm sharing a technique that hopefully once you get the gist of it, you don't have to necessarily measure anything. You don't have to be overly exacting. You can choose whatever angle you want. So if you make this a more severe angle, you'll end up with fewer strips going back and forth. If you make it more slight of an angle, then you'll have more back and forth strips. And you don't really have to measure this. You can just do whatever looks good to you. The idea of it is that once you start this, I like to just start on just one strip on the back and then continue to wrap that around all the way to the front. And one of the nice things with using this faux glitter is I'm not even going to worry that it ends in the middle of my panel. I'm just going to butt up the other end. Now this particular faux glitter cardstock, it does have a bit of an ombre to it. So you do want to, if you want that to be a little bit more seamless, you do want to match the light side, the light ends together. And again, I've come to the end and I'm just going to snip or cut another strip, and then I'll snip off the edges. So we'll just cut a strip. If I need one, I'm probably going to need a second or a third strip for the other side. Now again, I'm looking at these just to make sure that I'm keeping in mind what's going to be visible on the pretty side of our ribbon, so the side with the hearts. And I chose one where you could see the hearts a little bit more in full. And there you have it. So you just keep wrapping this around. Now why are we wrapping it? We're wrapping it because remember, I did glue two of these together, so we're actually going to be able to get two panels out of this, and with whatever's left over, I will just attach that to the other end so that we get full that full pattern going from top to bottom. And then whatever's hanging off the edges, you just want to snip that. So that's an easy way for you to get like nice parallel strips, because once you fold it around to the back, it's always going to land perfectly parallel as you continue to wrap your strip up this card here, or this little panel here. So now I want to come back in with the other pattern, and this pattern will sort of represent the front of my ribbon, and just do the same thing. So all I've done is line it up so that where the solid glitter cardstock, where that ends, I am going to actually attach one end of my heart pattern, and where it begins on the other one is where I want that to land. And that way it kind of looks like this is just one connected piece of ribbon that's being folded back and forth, back and forth. So I'll do that again. Now in this case, I don't necessarily want to, because this pattern doesn't tile very cleanly, if it ends in the middle, I actually prefer to just cut it off and start a new strip. And so that's what I'll do with this third one here. because I can't get these to tile quite as seamlessly as the glitter one. Plus, I knew that the glitter pattern would be at the on the back, so, or at the bottom, so it's a little bit less likely that you'll notice it. But these are kind of the star of the card, so I want to make sure that these patterns you can see in full. So there we have it. We just very easily wrapped some of these strips around, and I find that this is a perfect way to get perfectly parallel. It doesn't matter what angle you chose initially, it's always going to be perfectly parallel. And now we just need to separate these two panels. So I'm taking a little bit of a craft knife and I'm just slicing through the pattern paper that we wrapped around the edge. So once you slice open one end, you might find it easier to just bring, once we've sort of flattened that out, you can bring this into your guillotine or your paper trimmer, or you can use a craft knife and ruler to split open the other end so that you have two panels. Now, if you wanted, you could get a really clean edge by just cutting a little bit off of your panel. So we started with a 2-inch panel, and here you have the two here. So we started with a 2-inch wide panel, but if you really want clean edges, you can trim off a little bit more. So I actually made some cards in my new series. This is my Spark series, and the R in Spark stands for recipe. And in my Spark of the Not Too Shabby box of the month, I made these two cards featuring the two braided panels I just made. I hope you check out that video. I'll try to remember to link to it in the upper right hand corner if you want to pop on over and check out that video next. But I do hope you'll give this recipe a try. Tag me at Handcrafted if you do follow this recipe. I'd love to see what you make, and stay tuned because I've got even more ideas for different woven patterns that you can make with just a few strips of paper. Thanks again for checking out my video today. I'll leave a playlist with all of my recipe cards so you can check out the previous recipes as well as other videos featuring recipe number 6. Thanks again, and until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.